Man, we talking about gremlins on the mic tonight. What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dave, the NYDC, and this is Two Mics Up. You know what time it is. It's Tuesday night, Tuesday Blitz. Sitting here, with my partner, my brother, Big A Sam Adams. Sam, what's good with you this evening, brother?
A whole lot of nothing. Just like I said, maintain and sustain. That's all we can do.
Look, you ain't never lied, man. We trying to make it. So many different areas of our community are struggling and going through some things. And tonight, like we always like to do on the show, we like to chop it up, have a little fun, and we gonna start, man, because there was a momentous event that really took place over the weekend, and I want to bring this segment in, that's being brought to you all by our friends at, uh, 94 Media House. If you're looking for big and bold designs, and if you want to shine both in real life and through your business, check out our friends over at 94 Media House. They can help you take your business brand to the next level. So we appreciate them for rocking with us and bringing this segment, to life tonight. But like I was saying, we saw over the weekend, man, it had been a while,
Hmm.
since Versus had raised its head and really brought a classic, if you will. I really was in tune and excited, and I'm interested, because I also had mixed feelings about it, but I want to open up the floor with you first and really get your take and your view on what took place with the verses over the weekend. And look like we
Um,
lost you for a second. Your video went out.
Hold on, right quick. Hold on, hold on.
Nah,
See
you
that
back.
that's what happens when you're in an undisclosed location. You know what I'm saying? The gremlins be getting to you and everything. Um, I don't know where to start. Well, I have a lot because it's a lot to sit there and process with what happened with the verses. Um, I mean, first off, like shout out to Cash Money and No Limit for the performance that they had. Shout out to Manny Fresh, KLC, because I think they were the DJs for
Yep.
both sides and everything too, and they represented well. Three, I think that, like I said, it's a lot to digest. I think
Hmm.
Cash Money missing Lil Wayne and Turk
Okay.
did have an impact as far as the quality of the camp.
Hmm.
And then I think about it, like just think about No Limit and everything, everyone that they brought out, and then on top of that, like yeah, they did some of their more commercial bangers, but they had the opportunity to sit there and bring up other songs. Like when Mac came out, when Fiend came out. I think like people don't realize it. From I want to say from like '97 to that damn 2000, like No
Yeah,
Limit
man.
had everyone on in a chokehold.
Yeah, for
As
real.
far, and just think about No Limit as far as like they were like paychecks because like on the first and the 15th you were guaranteed like a new album
Yep.
coming out of that camp. I remember opening up the CD and it was like this whole discography of stuff that was like already released and it's coming out soon and everything.
Yep.
And it kind of showed on the stage. And shout out to Mia X too because she
What?
really like
What?
when I ain't saying like we talk about MVPs and everything, and I do give Juvenile his credit because he held
Man,
down
please.
Cash Money,
What?
but the way Mia X came out there and did her thing, like
Look at your. You
kudos,
so.
just kudos to that. And
Yeah.
like even with all of that said and done, like it was a shame that it was shortened. It was crazy that they showed up like 20, almost like 25 minutes late. So I think that kind of deprived everyone of additional performances because they were only allowed to do like the first pretty much like part of each song.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they over here on CPT, um, but I feel like if they would have came out earlier, then we would have got more out there too.
Yep.
And then when it's all said and done, like I was a little disheartened with Baby and how he was like, y'all are grown men now.
Right.
So like, why are we still sitting here? Like, you ain't part of the streets no more, bruh. Like,
Right.
I understand
Right.
that it's part of you, but that was the same thing with P. And look at everything that P came over there and did. It's like his mogul status with clothing, shoes. He was
Yeah.
an NBA baller at one point in time. You
Right.
know what I'm
Right.
saying? He got into the film industry, and just the way that P took care of his camp. That's one thing that I can say. Like, he had a whole village out there in Baton Rouge. Like, as soon as somebody signed to the label, it's like, here's the keys to a house. Here's a
Right.
whip. Here's some cash. Let me go ahead and this is up front. This is not even part of your contract. So
Okay.
just the way like P is about that business, about that unity, and I think it showed on the
Mm-hmm.
stage when you look at like everyone that was part of that No Limit era, how they came out and basically did their thing, as
Yep.
compared to Cash Money. Like, really, you only had like three people on the stage. Everyone else was, I mean, they had
Just there.
Jacquees,
They were just
yeah,
there though.
NBA. What was his NBA young boy? Because
Mm-hmm.
Baby kept on yelling his name and everything.
Right. Right.
Um, but you could just see from one side to the next, like. But kudos, because like, I don't think it was one point in time every song that came out, like, I was rhyming it bar for bar, like, and it just made me realize like how much of an impact it had on me,
That's right.
during that time frame too.
Yep.
So
Yep. I mean, look, I agree with everything you said. I think Juvie, always every time I've seen him, always killing it. And I mean, he
yeah.
really carried the weight and the load, for Cash Money. And you know,
Hmm.
if you would have told me beforehand, like when looking at like who would you say would have won this battle? Because one, well, let me take a step back. Because one, it was a celebration. It was great to
Yeah.
see all the artists that were there from New Orleans, and for all of them, okay, what's happening? Sanel, thank you for joining us from South Africa. Hope you enjoy the show, man. Great to have you here, and want you to keep coming back, man. Shout out to South Africa.
Yeah.
Uh,
What's going on?
so if I had to put money originally on it, first thing I would have put money on Cash Money,
Yeah.
only because
What up, Chase?
what up, Chase? Because it felt like a almost, and I want to be loving when I say this. Cash Money felt more like an international brand, like when you really think of
Yeah.
them hot boy, you know what I'm saying? And No Limit felt more regional to me,
Yeah.
and this is just me, my area. That Louisiana, Texas, Georgia type
Yeah.
vibe. So if I had to put money on it originally, I would say what, Cash Money was going to blow them out the water.
Yeah.
But watching it and listening to it, here's where you see the presentation in a mogul
Hmm.
like Master P, where they
Yeah.
all came out unified, uniform. They came ready to perform, and the energy that they presented on stage was crazy, and compared to what Cash Money presented. And what we're talking about, Chase, is we're talking about the verses that just took place this past weekend in Vegas at Complex Con with Cash Money and No Limit. It was a great celebration. Like I said, I love the peace that they kept, and the love and the camaraderie that they showed for New Orleans. I felt like the crowd, and I think a lot of people just going through commentary, it would have been 1,000 times better if it was in New Orleans somewhere, right? Just you could pick
Yeah.
anywhere. The energy
I think,
felt a little flat.
yeah, but I think it would have been trouble in New Orleans too.
Uh,
You know
you
what
know,
I'm saying? Because I mean, just look at the way doggone how Baby was popping off. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
that to the end, towards the end, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, even like, you probably would have had more of each other camps there,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
think that it would have caused more of a rift. Because yeah, we were talking about like unity and everything, which is true, but at the
Hmm.
same time, I think that it gets if we would have had like ten babies up there with the same mentality, I think that it would have caused more friction than what it needed to. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I don't know. It as good as it was, like I said, and I agree with you. You know, it may have been more. You know, people with the wrong intentions if it was at home, right?
Yeah,
And I give you that, but it felt uneven. But I enjoyed it. Like you said, Mia Exo, she came through. I mean, she came through
hmm
with guns blazing.
yeah,
Uh, they really carried it, and it was unfortunate. Really, I think the most awkward part for me was so at the end they hit him with Millie. You know,
yeah,
Wayne's not there. It already felt off when Turk wasn't there. You know, just all that. So it felt very uneven watching them. You know, this hit song is playing, but they all kind of standing there with their hands in their pocket. You know,
yeah,
as the joint is playing. So it just felt
yeah,
uneven and no limit. You know, not to say the culture won. I want to be. Let's put
yeah.
that first and foremost. The culture actually won. It was great to see artists from New Orleans get put on a stage in the spotlight. But No Limit definitely they carried the night. They carried the
They did.
torch. They carried the victory. Um,
Hmm.
but when you looked at that also too, um, you know what do you think about the about versus itself? You know, because it's been a while. It's what I think what 2 3 years since the verses. Because I know I kind of I feel a way, but I'm curious to know like how do you feel about verses and should this be something that continues?
Well, I think the the brand is because I think because it's kind of hard, and I'm trying to get my word. I think because we're moving away from the COVID period where it
Right,
felt like
right.
more personal,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a more of an intimacy as far as getting the sitting there and having that experience, at home and everything. Um, this kind of felt rushed. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like new, like bringing it back and everything. So I
Mm-hmm.
would like to see it continue.
Right.
I just hope that um, they put a little bit more quality into the production. I know that, you got the Versus brand, but it's under Complex, I think it is, and Apple
Yeah.
Music.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it kind of muddles the water, but that's kind of what happens when you sit there and go for the bag and everything now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree because you hit it on the head. For me, it felt like now, as we like to say, everybody's back outside. Even
Hmm.
though millions of people watched it, it felt a little outdated, I guess, if you will. And then it seemed a lot shorter in a sense. And I know
Yeah,
they were late and everything, but normally you get 20 songs, or 20 hits
yeah,
back to back. It was really more like 10. So it
yeah.
felt, and I don't know
But
if
they
that's
did
good or bad.
discuss why. They came over there
Okay, I
and they
missed
said
that.
the reason behind it was because the Clips was performing afterwards,
Gotcha.
and they wanted to dedicate that block to them. When I
Gotcha.
feel like maybe have the Clips perform first,
Right,
so
get them
then
in
you could
time.
have sat there and had that verses, and that shit could have
Yeah.
rocked out like
For
whenever.
a minute.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because from both sides there were so many songs. Like Mia X probably still had like two, three more songs in her kit that she
Mm-hmm.
could have performed. Same thing with Fiend and
Mm-hmm.
Mac.
Yep.
Baby should have did What Happened to That Boy. I think
Mm.
everything
Mm.
would have went bananas with that song. So there was still a whole bunch of bangers that they didn't sit there and perform. And to kind of hit back on what you said, it did feel weird having Millie perform or having them
Yeah.
do play a Millie and like
Mm-hmm.
there's no Wayne.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or doing songs that, CMV was doing songs that had Turk lyrics, but Turk wasn't even
Wasn't
there.
even there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I said, for for Baby to sit there and start kirking out, I know he had to be full of that liquor or something. But for him to
Yeah.
start kirking out on Turk, and truth be told, Turk had a viewing party out there in doggone New Orleans.
What? Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
how do you think that is? Like you sitting here like still repping your crew and everything. You know what I'm saying? And we get to the end credits
You
and
getting
you,
blasted. You
yeah,
getting blasted. I
yeah,
don't know.
that was wild.
I mean, Baby say it seemed like he was off the whole night, so I don't even
Yeah,
know what it was. But we were talking about it at work. Really talking about I guess legacy, if you will,
yeah.
because I know for me, I had to go back. I'm not gonna lie, I had to go back into to the No Limit files and really start digging through the hits. But culturally, as a legacy, like what did this night really mean, or did you think it changed or enhanced the legacies of Cash Money and No Limit? From their hits or just from being able to see them, did this, maybe raise the level of music enthusiasts, at a younger generation to kind of go back and listen to these artists and these hits and the work that they put in?
I think it would be a good. I think it's a good wake up because, like you said, you forget the bangers that came out during this time frame. 400 Degrees, Chopper City in the Ghetto,
Right,
the Hot Boys album as a collective, then the TRU album, Mia X's Unladylike. I'm gonna put Silta Shaka in there, even though I still think to this day he can't rap. But
right,
his Charge It to the Game, Ghetto D, the West Side, what was it? The West Side Connection album that came out that had like All in No Limit, but then you had Juvenile up there, you had 8 Ball and MJG,
hmm,
you had some cats from the West Coast. So like the South or New Orleans has always been there as far as
right,
like the product and everything. So I hope that just like the Super Bowl, you have an artist that haven't performed in a long time come out, do a couple of tracks, and then next thing you know, they're trending on Spotify and Apple and stuff like that. So I hope the same thing happens for both of these camps.
yeah, yeah,
And with that being said, because you know the South, as far as the kind of music that comes out, has evolved too.
hmm,
And honestly, like in this day and age, for me, and I'm just speaking on myself, like it's a little bit lazy. Like when Baby was naming some of the people in his camp, and I know these artists, I wouldn't take them as Southern rappers. You know what I'm
hmm.
saying? Just
Interesting.
because
Yeah,
of just because of how they carry themselves. And I was talking about this with a friend earlier. Like a lot of music that's coming out today is kind of like manufactured to the sense that you have one sound and now all labels want to come out with the same exact sound.
true,
So
true.
it dilutes the product. So kind of go back to the roots. I know Manny Fresh and Juvie is working on a new album.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm excited for that.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it too, man. And we transition into some other news that had taken place a little bit earlier in the week. My man Diddy Bob got his release date, and May 2028.
Hmm.
And there's been, I guess, depending on where you're from, some people on one side of like, it's not enough time. Uh, should have got more time, But here we are, and I'm curious to know from you, like, where where I guess really more so, where do we really see this playing out, or how do we see it playing out, through your reaction, if you will, about his news being released.
I mean, like at the end of the day, I think people need to sit here and just go ahead and let him do this time and call it a day.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what if he didn't do anything? Or what if he didn't? What if his time served? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, because that's what I'm
Uh,
looking at too. He's already been in jail for long. I don't exactly how long, but I mean, we talking about 2 years. Do they give him partially time served, like you said, for the
mhm.
time that he's already been in? So are we
Yeah.
really looking at, instead of 2 years, which is really prison time, about 16 months? Are we looking at maybe 2 or 3 months? For him to get released in. We lost you again on Cam, but does that become his norm? Of getting released early. And is that going to cause more of an uproar for people? And do you think that's fair? Giving him time served, or should he do the whole time? And we lost you. You're not on Cam, so I'm going to go ahead and just really kind of look at it from this perspective. I think we'll open up Pandora's box when you playing. I don't want to say playing this game, but him getting released. on the charges that he was hit with. We were having this conversation with some people at work. Should we now be looking at R. Kelly's situation uh, differently? Should we be revisiting, his case differently and looking to, should we be looking to free R. Kelly from his situation? And it's going to be interesting how this plays out. Does did he come back? Does he come back stronger than ever? Does he regain uh, some of his following and some of his camp, and ascend back to the top of the hill, where he was being, I guess, what some would consider a mogul, uh, being able to, maneuver back into the music industry. Does that all, return for him? So it's going to be interesting. But we lost you for a minute, so I want to go ahead and let you pick up and continue, Sam.
Still talking about Diddy?
Yeah, still talking about Diddy.
Yeah. I mean, I, I mean, he did what he did. He still committed crimes and travesties, and I'm glad that the judge sat there and picked up on that too.
Hmm.
So he just need to bite this one. Or
Yeah.
as he said, he need to take that, take that, take that. I'm saying, go ahead.
Do you see an
Just-
anticipation from people though? Like, do you think people really anticipate wanting to see his release and maybe return back to the rap game
yeah,
and the music industry? Mm.
bro. Like when the trial was going on, you literally had people out here in front of the courthouse dousing themselves with goddamn baby oil and everything. So yes, I do think that people are anticipating him to come out. He's probably going to be on this goodwill tour when he comes back out. But I mean, even like Joe Budden said it the best. Like I think you have, well, one, there's a lot of celebrities that were shook, and then two, like, um, are there still going to be, these types of functions for, the celebrities to get away,
Yeah.
you know, because I know that those were some of the key things right there. So, and people are going to be anticipating. People still want. There's other artists that are locked up right now that and that were guilty, and
Yeah.
people are patiently waiting for them to be released and everything too. So I put Diddy in that same category. I guess the bigger question is like how receptive, because we might be talking about like a small few
Hmm.
that want to sit here, excuse me, and have be anticipating Diddy's return, or could just sit there and you know just might not be as receptive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So when we had lost you for a minute, I threw out the point there. So, what he went to court for in his trial and everything. Does this
yeah,
warrant a revisit, maybe to R. Kelly and his situation? Now we've seen what Diddy's going through. Because I think his was, in my opinion, definitely a little more egregious,
yeah.
and what Diddy did compared to R. Kelly. So, does he warrant a revisit on his case now, or to get his release?
Nah, he did that shit. I mean, look at it. Look, that's a whole different can of worms because, like, you're talking about a selective few
Mm,
that sat there and got wrapped up with the whole when we talking about Kells. But in hindsight, like that was a whole different level of predatory that was going on.
mm, mm-hmm,
You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Even like I remember his interview with Torre when Torre was like, "Are you into underage girls?" And R. Kelly was like, "Now, when you say underage, what do you mean? Like, why
Right,
is that a question? Why would I
right,
ask me
right.
a question with a question? Like that made it worse to the point. Like, yeah, you guilty, but like it's crazy. In our what's wild is that within our community is like we give passes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
makes it even more challenging. Like, uh, the creepy uncles, and that's just Uncle Harold. Well, Uncle Harold has a problem, and we need to go ahead and discuss this.
Yeah, we
Like,
need to take care of this.
nobody, nobody's, nobody's safe from stuff like that, and we shouldn't. Us as a community, we shouldn't sit here and enable certain things like that. And that's the problem. People enabled goddamn Kels. People sat here and enabled Diddy. You know what I'm saying? And now they're paying for their crimes because, like, I'm pretty sure with both of them, we're just skimming the surface when it comes to the stuff. And like, you always hear the stories. So the stories done caught up to them, and they're guilty. So like, let them go to jail. Let him do his time. No parole. See you in 2028. Call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head with that, man. And that was our entertainment segment, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna transition and we're gonna get to our sports section. We're gonna kind of flip it up tonight. We're gonna change it up. Tonight our NBA segment is brought to you by our friends at Tico Rico Hot Sauce. Spicy never tastes so good. If you haven't got it, go out and get you some Tico Rico Hot Sauce, man. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread, for real, for real. If you like your thing spicy, check them out online. Get that 3-pack, and when you buy it and you try it, let us know how you like it, because it's
Yeah.
definitely the real deal. So the NBA came
Mm-hmm.
back,
Yes,
and
sir.
we've seen this was the largest opening audience for an NBA tip-off doubleheader since 2010, which is wild. As the NBA returned back to NBC and Peacock, what
Mm-hmm.
was what do you think that really drove that? Because I know when I looked at it and just looking at the numbers, we had a lot of big names, a lot of big markets. To me, that were really
Yeah.
driving the surge. That really kind
Mm.
of by it being back on NBC primetime TV, and then the
Yeah.
tip-off games I think that they have were great. But what else do you think that was really driving this? Because I know you and I, we have some issues with the NBA game, how it's being presented, the dilution of it. But I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear your thought on this tip-off and this market size and structure that's happened this year, what it looks like, and what does it mean for the rest of the year?
Well, it. I think having it on basic cable is one plus. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and then I do think that there's other factors out there as far as the TNT team being moved over there to ESPN.
Hmm.
I still don't agree with having to have like 18 damn subscription packages or apps or something like that in order to watch it.
Right.
Um, but and just this weekend, like the stars were out, which I
Yeah.
think was appreciative too. The question for me is like, is this going to be a continuance? Because you look at some of these teams and they're old. Golden State is like one of the oldest teams out there. Are
Yep.
they going to be able to do that?
Hmm.
LeBron is already starting off on a bad foot, even
Yeah.
though Luka
Yep.
and Austin Reeves are kind of holding down the Lakers right now. But
Yep.
everyone know that if you go into the Lake Show, you want to see not Bronny, you want to see LeBron. So him not being present causes a little bit of issues. And just some of the other teams how they revamped. I mean, look at Wemby and San Antonio and what they do, and
Ooh,
like
man, we're gonna talk about
it's
Wemby too,
bananas. But look at the champs as far as OKC and
man.
what SGA and that team is doing.
Yep.
And I think that opening tip off when they got their rings, which is still ridiculous because how the hell you have a ring inside of a ring, fam? Like, did you
Crazy,
did
right?
you see OKC's rings?
Crazy.
Like they
It's
opened up
crazy.
that capsule and then yeah, it had a ring and then it had all the
Ringless
team
ceremony.
players on it and
Yep.
then yeah, your number was highlighted. I was like, yo, this is
Yeah.
bonkers right here. But
Crazy, man.
um, now there is a little bit of foreshadowing,
Yep.
and I think that we discussed it before with this whole betting thing, and I know that we're going to talk to it, but
Yeah.
that could have a huge impact into it because I think it's items that we discussed before.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep. Yep.
And like me and you, we talked about like workload
Hmm.
and resting players and everything. So things are getting it's crazy how you have the biggest weekend, like you said, and now we sit here and now we have to deal with like, is there actual rigging in the
Hmm.
NBA? You know,
But but
and
we're drawing
when
on
I
this
when I think
again.
Yeah.
It's back. We had the referee scandal, right?
Yep.
Not too long ago. Now here we are. We're looking at coaches. NBA champion. Chauncey Billups. We're looking at
Yeah.
Damon Jones. We're looking at potentially other people. Trying to connect. People like Kevin Garnett, LeBron James, and various other
Hmm.
people being connected to this. And really, they haven't put together the dots for me to where either they were involved or they were at these games.
Yeah.
And we know gambling in sports as athletes. This is going on since the beginning of time. I don't. Let's not even shake that. Whether they riding on the plane. We seen the Gilbert Arenas incident here with the gun. Or after a bet going wrong in the locker room. So this has been something that's prevalent. But I think more so like my problem with it is so now that they've made that part of the game now. Like when you watch
Yeah.
commercials, Bet MGM and all of these, you got athletes
Yeah.
actually selling it. So like and when what's his name when Stern was commissioner, it seemed like this was a hell no for the
Yeah.
NBA. Now with
Yeah.
Silver, it's like a green light. So where do you draw the line? Like how do we even make sense of this? Because then how much of a hammer you really gonna throw down? Let's just say God forbid, and I'm hoping it's not. But if a LeBron James is caught up in this, a current star, we talking about a KG or Paul Pierce. Well, I mean, they're past and they're gone. But like, how do you even manage this if God forbid this thing grows like wildfire and there's multiple current stars involved in this? Like, where does the league go?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see a
And
fix.
and that's true too. And like I said, that makes it in like we're just talking about the NBA now.
Hmm.
But what about like other sports? Because it's plenty of other times you're sitting here and like you have a team that gets on the hot streak and then they just have that absolute dog shit of a game,
Right.
and it's like, what happened? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think about I think about the Packers and before Aaron left and how we had some of these, the same year that he's the MVP and we're clawing our way to the playoffs and everything. And then we get to the NFC championship. And in my head, I'm just thinking like mentally with all the injuries and everything, like about time they get to the NFC championship, they're kind of like gassed out.
Right.
But what if it's actually like rigged for that opposite team? We talk about it with KC all the time
KC.
and how luck just follows them all the doggone time.
Yeah.
And now, like, can it be insider? Let me revert back to the NBA with insider trading or something like that, or with these bets when, like I said, you have like these rest periods, like we're giving players time off, even though
Right.
they're playing 10, 12 less games throughout the season and it's stretched out a little bit longer and everything. Like, are we doing this to kind of like turn the tides when it comes to some odds? And I get
Right.
exhausted too. I hate like
Right.
putting it on some of these sports channels and down in the bottom right hand corner you see like ESPN bet
Hmm.
or Fox, ESPN, CBS. I don't want to say NBC, but they might have one too. Like they have like betting commentators come up there,
They do.
you know what I'm saying,
Yep.
and let you know like who's the hot hand or who you
Yep.
should run a parlay with. Like we shouldn't be having these discussions. You
Agreed.
know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
It really, and now they're talking about incorporating it into college football too. Like
Mhm. It's
it's too
magic.
much, and like you said, it muddles the water. It dilutes the product that you have when there's such a heavy emphasis on betting. Like I don't
Mhm.
care if people bet the games, but it should never be a time that we actually have segments that it becomes a focal point
Right.
of. It shouldn't
It's a show
be
now.
within regular sports talk.
Yeah. I mean,
You
they
know.
they got their own shows now. Where I mean, they're pretty
Hmm.
much the sports
Yep.
betting show.
Yep, they're
About
going
it's
over
not.
odds and
Yeah.
statistics, and like you're absolutely right. And like I think it does discredit it does discredit the game to an
I
extent. You know what I'm
can't agree
saying?
more.
And like you were saying, if this does blow up, like what's going to happen to like there's a lot of sponsors within the NBA and
Ooh,
everything right now.
ooh.
So how is that going to sit here and impact all these multi-million, you know, like we talked about it like a couple of years ago about how some of these athletes, like we were talking about C and D rated athletes at one point in
Right,
time when they
right.
redid the collective bargaining agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and it was names that I didn't even recognize, but these yahoos getting $100 million 4 year $100 million contracts.
Big money.
Yeah. It was like I don't even know. I felt like Thanos at one point in time. Like I don't even know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like they bringing up names and everything.
Right,
It
they
was
get that bag though.
it was so crazy. But like, is it, and like, now we have like actual like mafia connections and everything that's tied into it too. So
That's a whole nother
yeah,
animal. Like,
yep. So I mean, we'll see, but like it is like Adam Silver can't sit here and sugar. Oh yeah, and just think about this. We talked about Rozier, right? They were doing an
mhm.
investigation on him for like 3 years. My
Yep.
man's got traded from Charlotte to
Charlotte.
Miami
Yeah.
while the investigation was going on. You know what I'm saying? And like the league didn't do anything to kind of like forewarn these teams. You know what I'm
Nope.
saying? Miami gave up some lottery picks or draft picks in order to pick up Rozier. And here
Mhm.
he is faking an ankle injury or rubbing his eye because he got pink eye, some shit like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
does
It's
Miami
wild.
get those picks back now?
Hmm. Yeah. Like I said, I think we're scratching the tip of the iceberg,
Yeah,
because we don't really know where this is going to go. We don't know how much further the shoe, I guess, proverbial shoe is going to drop, and who else is going to be implicated. But
yeah.
I definitely think this marriage that, again, it's not just the NBA.
Hmm.
Let's just be honest about it. But they're the ones right now that they got their whole upper arm stuck in the cookie jar,
Yeah.
and it can't get any better. So it's going to play out. So, and it did them, this first week where I think there were some great games. We saw, the Warriors take on the Rockets, and the
Hmm.
Lakers play. And you mentioned it though, like Wemby, man, like I want to talk about a couple of players, like bringing up Wemby. Like we're starting to see the problem now. Uh,
Yeah.
Honestly, this is his third year. I think they finally got it. Where a lot of times I think people will wonder like why are they struggling, with him. But I think this year when I watched, there's only been what 4 games,
Yeah.
but watching them, they finally understand now to play through him. This guy
Yeah.
is so gifted. He's not only a backup to the back to the basket. He's a face-up guy. He can
Hmm.
dribble. Now he's got that three-pointer in his arsenal. Then he's got guys like Castle and the rest of the young gunners. The basically two or three rookies of the year back to back to back on the squad. They
Yeah.
running and they gunning. Like how much does Wemby now really change the game? Because this dude is a problem. And I mean, he
Well,
went at it with Giannis, man. And, I mean, he gave him the business. I mean, this dude a problem.
I mean, it's the fact that he can shoot three. He has a perimeter shot. He could post down low. Oh, yeah. And by the way, he could play defense.
Okay.
And he could dribble the ball too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So he really is like a doggone Swiss Army knife right now.
Yeah.
So like how do how do you contain that? That's the question.
I don't see
Which
it. I don't see it happening,
yeah,
this
because
season. Because
my
there's
man
nobody.
lobbing up threes, almost by the half court line. So
You did. I mean, he gonna be a problem, and it's gonna be interesting to see like his development and the team's development. This seems very reminiscent of the Spurs formula, where it's a team. I mean,
yeah.
yes, he stands out because of his size and his skill set. Like you said, he plays hella defense. Like the next man I'm gonna talk about, B. Mickey, aka Zion Williamson. Zion Williams back in Norton for the Pelicans, where I mean he
Mm,
stopped him at the rim twice back to back.
yeah.
And Zion, I mean, he's looked good, in the early return, but I mean, unfortunately, again, he's just got hurt the other night, so we
Yeah.
kind of looking at, we shaking our heads, are we going to get the Zion that we've been seeing, or we going to go back to old Zion and he going to be on the side eating beignets? But like for you, like, what do you feel to see? Like, are we finally breaking through that window with Zion this year? Is he going to be able to really make noise with the Pelicans this year?
I hope so, but like you said, it's just the fact that when it comes to his health and what he does while he's on the sidelines, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, red beans and rice, they stick to you, they'll stick to your bone. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
you over here, like you said, with them beignets, with them doggone, with the extra
Right.
pound of sugar on them joints, you know what I'm saying? So uh, it looks like he's invested with like a nutritionist and everything. So hopefully
Yeah.
he can sit there and he can sustain while he's going through his recovery. I just don't want
Yeah.
him to relapse and you know what I'm saying, start DoorDash and McDonald's and all that stuff all over again. So I'm hoping that he just stays consistent. Um, Keep the weight down because you know it was the same thing with Luka and everything. A lot, you know, they come in the start of the season looking crisp, like they about to do something.
Man, for
You
real.
know what I'm saying,
For
and
real.
then they let themselves go as it progressed. But on the flip side, you know, we dealt with that with James Harden
Yeah. Yep.
coming back to the Clips. They're over
Yep.
here jumping on AD because he showed up to the Mavs like 15,
He,
20 pounds heavier.
yeah, he put on
And
some weight. Yeah.
yeah, and they're saying that you know that's kind of the reason why they're 1-3 right now because he can't get up and down the court like he should be.
Mm.
And we already know like the Mavs is pretty young too. AD is like one of the oldest people.
Hmm.
Well, he might be the oldest person on that squad.
I think they might be.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the Mavs, I think the issue really is what are we doing at the point guard position? You know,
Well, they're just trying to stay afloat till Kyrie get healthy because
and
I
I
don't
get that,
know.
but they got to do something. I mean, because we know that's
Yeah,
what the end goal is, but you know, Cooper Flag or is it going to be D'Angelo? You know, is it going to be D Russ? You know, pushing it because I don't know. Look, I like Cooper Flag, but I don't know if he's the answer. Uh, you know, bringing the rock up, and I think that kind of takes him out of his element.
yeah.
Uh, you know, in
He's
the
like a
offense.
three. He's like a 3-4. He's not a point.
Hmm.
But D'Angelo, well, I mean, maybe D'Angelo is just sitting here trying to get accustomed to the team and everything. But like they brought you in for a reason. You got this 1 year contract to show yourself. So
Yeah.
let's not sit here and get it close too early, like around December, between December and February time frame when Kyrie come back. At least show your mettle and
Oh,
you know play the role that they brought you in for, which is around point.
run the point. Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned Luka. You know, coming in shape this season.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely. You know, bearing the brunt of the weight of no LeBron, and we see now he's going to be out for a little bit as well. You know, due to injury. But
Mhm.
you know, we talk about the Lakers quite often here. I mean, is this? You know, is it? And we talked about it last year, but like, you know, what is it going to look like? Are we really looking at the farewell tour for LeBron in LA this year? Because they seem more disjointed than ever. Like none of the pieces, even with him out, seem like they
Yeah.
fit. And I don't
Um,
know what's going to take.
it's going to take LeBron to leave. They need the cap space. They need him gone, and they need to actually like. And there's a lot of other players that need to be gone too. And
Mm,
I think that they you can't get nobody. I said it before. There's a lot of young folks who don't want to play with LeBron, or you have your kind of no name players. Like there's been plenty of opportunities for people to go to LA and play with LeBron. I
right.
don't think and I've been saying this for the past couple of years. I don't think nobody want to go over there and play with him. You know what I'm saying? He has to sit here, and I think he got so accustomed with the teams that he's been on. He was able to sit here and kind of plug and play who he wanted, whether
Yeah.
it was Cleveland, Miami, you know, his earlier years in LA and everything. And I think that's where the buck kind of stopped because you start seeing that trend of you know, there was a lot of piece like I'm trying to put these pieces around LeBron to sit here and win his chip, but at the same time, then nobody want to sit there and you know be on that. Then nobody want to play with him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's why you know that's why you have the lineup that the Lakers have right now. So until they free up that cap space and start, they just need to sit here and transition and focus on doggone Luka and start building a squad around him. So he could, because he's supposed to be there for the long haul. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You're looking at least 3 to 6 years that you're going to be with Luka. So go ahead and start getting him right before you get to his latter years and you wasting all this talent that he has.
I agree, man. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's going to be a long haul, for Lakers fans this year. Uh, I don't see a bright light at the end of the
Right.
tunnel for the Lakers crew. But look, we've seen crazier things happen when it
Yeah.
comes to the NBA, and we're gonna see how it's played out. It's early. It's only week one. We'll
Hmm.
be back and we'll be talking about it a little bit more. And I do want to take a moment to you know, for those of you watching, if you have a small business or you're looking to advertise, with two mics up, go ahead and scan that little QR code up there, and hit us up and let us know if you're interested in advertising. You got any events coming up you want us to promo for you and run for you here on the show. That's what we all about. So go ahead and hit us up, scan that QR code, and message us, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk some business. But as we get back to tonight's conversation, I want to go ahead and get into a little bit of college football, man. We week 9. Well, I mean, college football season is really flying by, and when
Hmm.
we look at it, week 9 kind of brought us some shakeups and some standout storylines, I think, across the board. One was, I mean, I want to start there with you in Texas.
Okay.
That bounce back performance. The win over
Whew.
Mississippi State after being down 17, which would I had to tune into that one because it was just wild. Would you consider that one of those things where I don't want to call it dominant, but is that the Texas that we should really be expecting, or that's what we hope to expect, or was it
If
just
they,
them doing something they should?
I mean, if they could do, I think it's more of a self-destruction with Mississippi State, if I'm being honest.
Okay,
You
fair.
know what I'm saying? Because like they had everything. I mean, they were dominant on defense,
All side.
containing doggone Arch Manning. Receivers couldn't get open in enough time before Arch got sacked.
Right.
The running game, I think that they relied on Baxter a little bit too much.
Hmm.
And he was just coming back from the injury. They should have just kept it with Wiseman running the
Yeah.
ball and then incorporating Baxter into the mix. And then the defense wasn't playing well. The defense was keeping Texas afloat like they have been every game.
Yep.
I don't know. Like I said, I just think that it was a breakdown with Mississippi State, with the mistakes and they had in that second half. Because I was just as amazed too that Texas scored goddamn 24 points in the fourth quarter,
Crazy.
24-7, yeah, and then came back and closed everything out in overtime. And
Yep.
this is like back-to-back overtimes too that Texas had to
Hmm.
sit here and try to pull out a dub and everything.
Right.
I don't think that they could keep that up though. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, still got to play Georgia,
Hmm.
play Vanderbilt this week, I believe.
Yeah.
So like, and they could be doing this without Arch Manning too because he's on a concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So, and I don't even know who the hell the backup is. So that's the problem that we have right now. I haven't seen a backup take no type of. Hey, look, I'm in Austin right now, so maybe I need to go down to Darrell K. Royal Stadium and figure out. Like, hey man,
What's going on?
who's the QB? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like,
What's going
what's
on?
popping? But that's the big question because beforehand, like there was always somebody lined up
Yeah.
behind the quarterback that was supposed to be next. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning. You had Sam Ellinger and Quinn Ewers at the same time.
Hmm.
So there was always that, like, well, if like, don't worry, there's somebody in the stable,
Somebody, yeah.
that can hold it down. But I really haven't brought it up because everything's been about Arch Manning. So um, I, I've been saying it for a while. I think that's why we have at 5-2. But if we keep on, we can't be playing catch up in some of these games. And I know we say this about a lot of teams in the NFL too. because when you do that, it could get to the point that it's out of hand,
Yeah.
and Texas can't afford that. Now, with that being said, like this is Arch's first official year as QB.
Hmm. Hmm.
He has a line that was reconstructed because we talked about it. Like
We
I
did.
want 3 out of 5 went to the pros. They went to the NFL. So
Right.
you're kind of, what I'm
Start from
saying, hitting
scratch.
that restart on that end. So I'm hoping that they just continue to grow and develop because other QBs went through this too. Quinn Ewers went through it 1 year too. And I could think of other Texas quarterbacks that kind of had to hit the restart button offensive line. I think they'll be 10 times better next year versus
Yeah.
what they are now because, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you got like 3 rookies on the line that's trying to figure it out and everything.
Yeah. But on the flip side, we had two teams continue, their hot streaks. Both Georgia Tech,
Hmm.
go Ramblin' Wreck. We talked about them again, but I mean, they keep rolling. In Indiana, they on fire. Like they're
Yeah.
just tearing up everything. Like, are we looking at two of the most underrated teams, right now in the country? And really, is it time for people to really stand up and really give them the recognition? Because I understand, look, schedules are what the schedules are. They don't make these schedules are made in advance. But do we really, should people really be giving them their respect? Because I tune in now. I'm not even going to lie. I tune in
Yeah.
when Georgia Tech is on and when Indiana is on now, just to watch, because this is kind of something
Yeah.
that's been growing, and I don't want to call it a phenomenon, but I'm actually impressed, and I like what I see from both teams. Well, what are your thoughts?
I'm the same way. I felt that way about Georgia Tech last year.
Hmm.
Things kind of just didn't align right.
Right.
And just to see them bounce back because everyone was on Clemson,
Yep.
Miami,
Yep.
they everyone was on their bandwagon, and here's the Tech just creeping along. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I mean, they're leading the ACC right now. You know,
Yep.
they're probably leading the whole nation, and they should be ranked a whole lot higher than what they are.
I agree. I
But
agree.
I think it's the fact of the conference that they're in
Agree.
with the ACC, and the ACC really has been playing some atrocious ball. You know what
True.
I'm saying?
True.
With your powerhouses, with Florida State, the U, and
Hmm.
doggone Clemson, they
Clemson. Yeah.
haven't. Yeah, they haven't been bringing us a really big product. So I think that's kind of like why they're in the shadows right now. But I think
Yeah.
that they have every opportunity to sit here and get into that 12-man playoff
Hmm. I agree.
picture.
Hmm.
When it comes to Indiana, or like I like to call them JMU light, um, just what Coach Sangetti did to that squad, like I'm still amazed because basically the players that he had, the
Came
players
with
that
him.
are playing right now, like the
Hmm.
majority of them came from JMU.
Right. Came with him.
You,
Yep.
you know, you know what I'm saying? So, like he's really built that. I mean, he's got people fired. He just got Penn State coach fired.
Oh, fine. Right.
You
Right.
know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they was
Got to
like, we
go,
never
buddy.
lost. We
Right.
haven't we never lost to India. We haven't lost to Indiana since Hoosiers or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everybody, yeah, you
So
got to
it's
go. You got to go.
yeah. So like I'm happy for both teams.
Hmm.
I just wish them to continue, you know what I'm saying, playing at the caliber that they are now. I mean, both of them are going to be in the playoffs if they keep on playing at the rate that they are right now.
Definitely. I
And
agree.
like I said, I would be scared to play either team if
I
I'm being honest. Like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm with you because I think both teams are solid on all three sides of the ball. I think they have
Hmm.
great coaching, and I
Yeah,
just think people they just continue to get overlooked just because
yeah,
of the name on the jersey, and
hmm,
I think they really should. I'm excited. Like I'm with you. They should be in the 12. Right now if the season ended, they should be in the
hmm.
12 in the college football playoffs, no question. And honestly, I wouldn't want to face neither one of them
Nope.
because I just think that they both do something different. I mean, you look at Georgia Tech. I mean, always you always look at the run game, but just how they're actually rounding out their offense and defensively, they've been pretty stout.
Yeah,
And helping they flip the field, get other teams off the field so that their offense can get back on the field and control the narrative. in Indiana, like you said, JMU Light. There are a lot of guys on that squad that one never heard of, didn't know of, didn't really know the coach or the program. You know, like I said last year, I thought that was just that blip on the map.
Yeah,
But now to repeat, that same type of, I don't want to call it arrogance, man, but they just freaking tough, bro.
yeah,
And they just come out that Big Ten football. They punching you in the mouth. You
yeah. They're
know,
playing straight blue collar college
yeah,
football right now.
yeah,
So
man, yeah. So I'm excited. So people should check them out. And I just want to transition as we leave out of this segment. Wow, this one kind of, I don't know how to look at, because you want to look at part of it as, was this really all hype and was it all about one or two kids? And I'm talking
mhm.
about Colorado and Coach Prime just getting blown out in Utah, man. It really is like this year's team has no identity.
Yeah,
There seems to be no gumption or want from the current players. But I'm interested to hear, your thoughts on it when we look at Colorado, because that loss was terrible. That was just embarrassing.
I mean, they haven't been playing the best ball. Um, they haven't been playing the best ball, and I think that's what makes it tough.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like it's all glitz and glamour because you just think about some of the names that came in as far as like the coaching.
Hmm.
Um, you think about um, he's not developing anybody because he's like, I could sit here and just get rid of you. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, um, and I really like. I agree with you. I think it was more or less of how can I raise the stock? Technically three, if you want to sit there and include Shiloh too.
correct.
But it's like how I can sit here and raise the stock of these athletes, that I
Correct.
have. And it's tough watching them sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
not sometimes. It's tough watching them a lot. Um, and I really think it's going to. How is he going to finish in the Big 12? That's going to be the big question to determine whether or not he's going to be back or not.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm looking more or less like no.
Mm.
I think it might be time. I
Yeah.
know there has been talk for him to like go to Penn State or even
Yeah.
sit here and
Yeah.
take it a level higher and go into the NFL. But it's like, do you really want, those opportunities? Or
Mm.
should he be afforded that opportunity? I should say, because Penn State is a big program and he's really going to have a target on his back if he don't sit there and
Yeah.
revamp that. I mean, we could see what Belichick is going through down in
Oh
UNC.
man, they eating him up, bro.
Yeah, and
They,
they just think about Chip Kelly just lost his job at LSU.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Like if he goes to a program like that, that is going to be whew,
Yeah. I thought
yeah,
Colorado was definitely, I don't want to say a safe pick, but it was a safer pick. Um,
yeah,
to go rebuild you're not necessarily in the spotlight, prime time type situation, but he brought all of that with you. Like, he brought the glitz, the glamour, and
yeah,
everything, and they won. And
yeah,
I do think Coach Prime should be commended because I do think he's a hell of a coach.
yeah,
But I also believe, and I hate to say this, you have certain coaches. I believe that you give them the talent, they're good at letting the talent develop right around them, and they're
yeah,
putting a sprinkle on top. And I think last year, even in Jacksonville State or whatever, he had the talent around him, and it was led by his son and his sons, and Horn and some of these other former sons of athletes that really helped put him on the map. But now, and we talked about this last year, looking into this year, is he a developmental type coach where
yeah,
he can help develop hidden gems? And I just think right now what we're looking at, I would have to say the answer is no. And I want to also be kind, because let's be honest, he's also dealing with his own personal health issues
yeah,
as well, which makes it harder as a head coach. But when you bring in all of the Warren Saps and the running back, damn, looking at his face, man, I'm looking at his face. Play for the Rams.
I know,
Marshall Falk and these type of
right,
guys. this is supposed to be your coaches that bring in this NFL experience. Again, are they really designed to develop? And right now,
Right.
it's definitely a hard no. I'm not seeing it.
Hmm.
Look, I didn't see no fight in the game. Watching them, against Utah and Utah State. So it was a total embarrassment. But I wish him best, and he deserves to be able to choose, like you said, if it's time for him maybe to go to Penn State or in the LSU. Understand that he's really going to be under a bigger spotlight and have higher expectations, or even if he goes to the NFL. But I do believe he's earned the right though now to make that choice and decision if that's what he chooses to be right for him in the next stage, or maybe just retire. Maybe his health issues are just that. Maybe
Yeah.
it's time to walk away from that end. But it's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. I'm looking forward to see how things continue to shake out as we move forward in the college football season. And
Hmm.
last but not least, we're going to go ahead and close out tonight. We're going to go and jump into some football, some NFL football. We're going to talk really quick about some wide receivers. And I want to go back to you know early 2000s, 2001 to 2010. If
Hmm.
you had to sit and think about maybe the top five, based on yards and statistics, who were the
Hmm.
top five maybe wide receivers of that area and of that era? I think some probably stand out more than others because there were one or two when I kind of went through this that kind of I was like, they were great, but they didn't really. And so I went through this. I kind of played out like, oh damn. Yeah, so who would you say were maybe top two or three that kind of just run off your head for that era?
I had them written down. I'm gonna go with one of the greatest shows on turf with Torrey Holt,
Okay, definitely.
Marvin Harrison.
Okay, would you?
I'll put Moss in there too.
Okay, so you got two. You
Um,
got the numbers two, three, and four so far.
Larry Fitzgerald,
Hmm.
and then I would put. Um, I wasn't a big fan of him, but I would put Steve Smith in there too.
Okay, interesting. Well, you definitely got two, three, and four that were
Okay,
definitely on that list.
right.
But there, the two that were closing it out, which people overlooked, we had Terrell Owens, number one, Marvin Harris, Torrey Holt, and Randy Moss. Then there was Andre Johnson, who at one time and during his career, he was a monster. And
Yeah.
he was number five on that list during that era. And they all, Terrell Owens topped that list with over 12,000 yards in that span of time, which is freaking phenomenal. But all of these guys brought something in. I asked that because would you say that those guys, we're talking about almost 2 decades now, do those guys still have an impact, do you think, on today's game and today's receivers? And, through
Oh, absolutely.
and where do you
Yeah.
see it a lot? Route running, preparation, like where do you see these guys impact on today's wide receiver?
Well, I mean, look at it. Like some of them were like you said, Andre Johnson. He was built like a tank, like DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
You know what
for
I'm saying?
real.
Oh yeah. By the
For real.
way, we're not even bringing up Megatron. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
mm. Not even. Not even.
These quick snap routes, like how you see, like Jamar Chase or Jefferson in Minnesota, like
Ooh, monster.
Hines Ward. Um,
Another type.
uh, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these receivers, I think a lot of these receivers would go toe to toe. Your
I agree.
post route between Randy Moss, Marvin Teal, like all of these people could run like that deep post. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
So just as long as had the right quarterback with them, I think that they
Mm,
could sit here and do volumes as far as like really doing damage on some of these. And there's a lot of defensive teams that are depleted, and we're going to talk about a few of them
yep.
with some of
Yep.
these matchups. So I
Yep.
think that they would just like light them up and rip the show, like
I
for real.
agree. In today's game, where it seems to be definitely we talking about a guy like Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and Torrey Holt with the greatest show on turf, putting up the
Hmm.
numbers that they did in an era where it was just beginning to become more offensive centered. In today's
Yeah.
game, I mean, it's all about the offense. When you look at what Kansas City and Baltimore and Buffalo and all of these teams are doing, I agree with you. I think these guys would excel much more
Hmm.
in today's era. Like I said, with the right quarterback in the right situation, these
Hmm.
guys would probably still be, those number one and number two guys when you talk about a Jamar Chase and a Justin
Hmm.
Jefferson and a DK Metcalf. They would still be in that conversation just because on how the game
Yeah.
itself has evolved, for the offense and the restrictions that the defenses are really being limited on. And, you know, some of the games, talk about limitations, and we talked briefly about, the Chiefs, carrying the referees per se in their back pocket. You know, we I, some of that played out last night in the Commanders game
Yeah.
versus the Chiefs, where living here in the DMV area and watching the Commanders go from presumably you know, preseason and season contenders to now being pretenders. And I understand injuries happen. It happens
Yeah.
to, so many different teams. But when watching that game last night, very damn sure the first quarter, uh,
Hmm.
there was some questionable calls and throughout the game. But
Yeah.
what was your recap on last night's game? Like, where do the Commanders go, to try to get themselves back on track after three straight losses. And
Hmm.
now the new look Chiefs, now that they've got all of these shiny toys back. You're right. I know it's killing you because I
I
felt the
mean,
same way.
it was a matter of time for us to see the Chiefs like rise to this.
Hmm.
And it still pains me because, like, truth be told, their defense is still sus.
Yep.
But giving Patrick Mahomes more weapons offensively is going to keep him in the game. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? One, um, Travis Kelsey seemed to have waking up a little bit. So now you
A little
got
bit.
Kelsey and Gray. You
Right.
still got Pacheco. You got Rashid back. So like their offensive weapons are just like gnarly. I know I'm forgetting probably like two more, but their offensive weapons are gnarly.
Yeah.
When it comes to Washington, we talked about it the last time we were up here. I've always had questions. One, their secondary is still kind of suspect. Two,
Hmm.
their offensive line still going through the woes that they're going through. Now
Hmm.
you got Jaden Daniels hurt, and I'm hoping that we're not seeing, a RG3 type situation
Yep.
as far as
Yep.
like his legs and everything. And like, credit RG3, he was hurt a lot prior to even making it to. He was RG3 since he was in high school.
Hmm.
So, but I hope that that's not rearing its head
I
because
hope not.
you get him like we have the quarterback, and but then he gets hurt. He gets hurt multiple times with the same injury. That
Yep.
tends to draw that concern right there. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
Washington, like you said, Washington took a lot of hits, injury wise too. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Just with everything that's going on with them, I don't know, like if they're going to be able to bounce back
Hmm.
to where they need to be. I just know that whatever's going on, please take your time bringing Jaden Daniels back.
I
Don't need to
agree.
rush him. You know what I'm saying? And it gets to the point like, why would you even risk it, especially if you know that you have a troublesome offensive line, and you still got to play against a lot of powerhouse defenses, towards the
Yeah.
second half of the season.
Not
Like,
gonna
why
get no
even sit
easy.
here and risk any injury? Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Yeah. I like what I see, even with the injury. Having Debo back and McLaren back on
Yeah,
the floor. I do like what I see, even with Mariota. Like people can say what they want. I mean, he still has some game in him. I mean, he's a wily veteran. But it's sometimes the timing
yeah,
of plays, mistakes, the referees. They were again in Kansas City, so um, I'm just curious to see how the Commanders bounce back. To stay in the hunt because right now it's not looking good. And talking about staying in the
yeah.
hunt. we're gonna go to your division where the Bears took on the Ravens, and look again another team that's been decimated by injuries this year. But again, and I asked this before with you, being from that division, your team, in that division, did
Yes.
was it a, ex- was did Chicago really expose Baltimore in their weaknesses, or was it a fluke in the sense that we're gonna put it all on the decimation and injuries that Baltimore is dealing with? Because I kind of see it. I see where I'm like, damn, Chicago. If this Chicago shows up consistently, they could be very tough. And we talked about that.
Yeah.
The North could be very tough this season, and I kind of saw some of
Right.
that in that game. But I'm curious to hear your view.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's tough because it's like I can't say Chicago is for real. Look, like you said, they beat up a depleted Ravens squad.
Hmm.
And Huntley did everything that he could to keep them afloat. The same thing
Yep.
with Derrick Henry, but he's still having issues with the ball. Um, uh, Tyra Huntley's throwing cadence is off, so he's not passing the ball the way that he should be. So
Hmm.
that's causing another issue and everything. And then the defense is depleted too. Like, let's just keep it funky right there. Like,
Yeah.
they are here. They're supposed to be like the creme de la creme when it comes to defenses, and like they can't defend anything. You know what
Nah,
I'm saying? Like, it's just
it's
bad on
bad
their
right
end. So we'll see because I want to say same thing. Smith's schedule gets turned up the second half too. So are they going to be able to? The thing they still got to play Detroit. They still got to sit here
now.
and play the Pack again. I think there are some other teams out in the West that they have to sit here and play. So are they going to be able to continue this momentum that they have? But
Yeah.
with that being said, I can still see it's going to be really challenging in the NFC period. Like, there's a lot of divisions that like you have
Woo.
teams that are like really close to each other. So I think that's the issue that we coming down with, like which seven teams are going to be representing each, the NFC this year. But I mean, I can see Chicago making it in maybe at a seven seed if they keep on playing the way that they are right now. But with that being said, Caleb is kind of indecisive too, as far
Hmm.
as like how his style of play. I think we talked about this before too, as far as him not always wanting to go textbook or playbook style. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He likes to sit here and kind of like freestyle from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting as it plays out. Definitely in the North, and transition. Out to Philly. My Giants took on the Eagles, man, and it was a ugly game and the way it turned out. We definitely lost one of our better up and coming players in Cam Scatterboot. Tearing up the ankle and the
Yeah.
leg, and your body's not meant to be bent that way. But if
Hey,
I'm
look.
being honest, in the big picture, it's Philly now and starting to show its dominance. Last two games, kind of coming out of a shell. We're starting to see Jalen drop back. Getting Saquon in the mix. You seeing these holes that you can drive a truck through. Like and we
Mhm.
starting to see Philly start kind of maybe turning that switch on and kind of getting the pieces together and showing their dominance again.
Honestly, I'm still not fully sold on Philly. Like, yeah, they beat up on a banged up Giants team.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Well, the
saying?
Giants team
And
that actually
honestly,
kicked their ass. They actually kicked their ass though a couple of weeks ago.
right.
So
And
you know,
even on top of that, like, you know, there's two key plays. One, the tush push, because that
yeah,
really should have been possession when Thibodeau
no,
came over there, snagged the
agree.
ball out of Jalen Hurts' hand. Like, that was still a live ball. So
Right,
it just pisses me off a little bit, um, how they came over there and um, you want to call it a dead ball afterwards, but like, he didn't do anything that touched the ground. And then two, of
right.
course, just the injury with Scattervoo, just because of that 1-2 connection between him and Jackson Dart. Like,
Hmm.
I really think that deflated honestly, like the whole team. And
Yeah.
I mean, you could just see it. So, I mean, like I said, I think it's more or less a Philly just beating up a wounded dog versus them actually sitting here and showing their dominance.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, Jalen stepped back, but at the same time, um, you know, is once again, it's one of the questions as far as his productivity, if he's going to be able to keep it up, or if he's going to sit here. It was good to see, and not just him, but Saquon too, because Saquon. This was
Mhm,
the first game that Saquon had all season that he rushed for over 100 yards.
mhm.
So, are they going to be able to keep this up? I don't think so. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Okay. Interesting.
Like, yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, we shall see. You know what I'm
Yeah. I
saying?
mean,
I did say in order to beat a man, you got to beat the man, but I think Philly's making it kind of easy. I don't know if I would, of course you have to respect them, but I just don't know how much of an impact they're going to have in the playoffs,
hmm, interesting.
if that
I'm kind of
makes
on the
any
flip side.
sense.
I'm kind of on the flip side of it. I think for me, this was
Okay.
I agree with you. I know my Giants are depleted and we're scrambling trying to put round pegs in the square holes and trying to keep the ship afloat. But we've
Yeah.
we've been showing an improvement, and I was inspired from our victory. So and the injury, you're right. I think once that happened, because I mean at the time I wasn't actually watching the game. I was on a call, and you hit me up and like when I went back and I saw the video, I was
Yeah.
like,
That,
Jesus
that was
Christ.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was beyond brutal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was crazy. Ronell,
What's
what's up,
going on,
brother?
Doc?
Thanks for joining us. So yeah, it was brutal in that aspect, but I do feel this is the Philly team that we're going to be looking at in the playoffs. And speaking of playoffs, there's another team in the AFC. And it's that team that that damn Danny Dimes, aka now Indiana Jones, this damn Colts team. These dudes is on
Yes,
fire. I mean,
they are on
not
fire.
they on fire, man. And before we even started the show, the preseason, I know you and I both did not see this coming out of this Colts team. But are they really prime? We still haven't reached the halfway mark of the season. But are they really primed to put pressure and really show up and show out? When we look at teams like a Buffalo and a Kansas City that's kind of been proven and
Hmm.
tried and true in the playoffs. Are they really,
Yeah.
something to be considered as a threat as we move on in the season?
I mean, offensively and defensively, if they keep on playing at the rate that they are, then yes.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
shit, yeah,
Because
right.
they're literally hitting it on both sides as far as the defensive play. Daniel Jones is actually like leading, or he's commanding the field. You know
Yeah,
what
he
I'm
is, man.
saying? High QB rating. His TD to interception ratio is low. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He's averaging like 270 plus a game as far as like yardage and everything.
right.
And his completion rating is up too. So like offensively, yeah. I mean with Taylor, and I forgot the name of their receivers, but like they just clicking
That's
right now.
they
Like
man
they
smoking.
could be a threat. I mean, not can be. From the outside looking in, because I know that we still got another half of ball to play, but like
Yeah,
they are, I see them as a threat. Like going into the season a little bit more, and if they make it to the playoffs, I didn't have them in my cards to win their division, but it look like they are.
yeah. Because I don't know what's
And
going on with
we were
Houston.
talking about that before.
Right. We were talking about Houston. Really, was their division to
Yeah,
lose. Well, they're
yeah,
doing a good job of
and,
that.
and, yeah. That's what I'm about to say. They losing it too. With that being said,
They just giving it away. So it's going to be interesting
yep.
how it plays out in the second half. I
Hmm.
am again kind of like we were talking about in college with Georgia Tech and Indiana. The Hoosier football team. I do tune in now. Especially if it's on local or even red zone. I do definitely pay more attention when Indy is on the screen, man. I mean, they playing some serious football. And
Yeah, they're
speaking
playing
of
lights out ball right now.
speaking of lights out, though, I want to ask, we're gonna go to your Packers. They took on the Steelers, and I mean, shit. If I'm going to be honest, I had to, and I thought about this. The Packers have really, for the better part of 30 years, have had excellent quarterback play. You go back to Brett Favre, A-Rod. Now we're
Hmm.
looking at Jordan Love. Uh, man,
Yep.
I thought he was pretty damn incredible. Uh, against the Steelers and going up against Aaron Rodgers, and I'm curious to know, like from you, like watching your team. You're a big fan. You're a Packers fan. Looking at them, like how serious should we really start taking this Packers team now? That it seems like the pieces are all starting to come together.
Hey, look, I said once the trade happened, when we got Micah Parsons, that we were going to do damage. And then on top of that, like you know who I was surprised at more than anyone? Christian Watson. Like
Mm.
I forgot
Mister, I'm,
how
I'm
much
always Christian
yeah, I forgot how much we missed like a deep threat.
over the top.
You know, so because we really haven't had that since Christian Watson got hurt.
Right.
So like seeing him with those two completions, and I was like, okay. And I was like, that's what we needed because like I say, he really haven't had the opportunity, or Jordan Love had the opportunity to literally like rip it and throw the ball off
Mm-hmm.
top. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Into that secondary. So
Yep.
like I would be nervous. I mean, I know that we're still like the only two pieces that we're waiting on is our two offensive linemen to sit here and get healthy.
Yeah.
Um, Even though Tom's and I forgot the other rookie name, they're keeping things afloat. But still, like we need those starters back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I thought that this was going to be a good year too. And on top of that, like Jordan Love turns 27 this year. Brett Favre, when he won his Super Bowl, he was 27. Aaron Rodgers, when he
Mm-hmm.
won his Super Bowl, he was 27. So
Yeah.
this might be that year for
Yeah.
the Pack to take it all.
Hey man, they like I said, they scary. Like I said, I watched the game, man, and this as they're putting the pieces together, man, they're starting to become scary, freaking
Hmm.
good,
Yep.
and the second half of the season is going to be probably incredible to watch. Again, injuries is all part of the game, but man, they are a team to watch. And when we talk about victory and success, you know, want to shout out the other team in New York, New York Jets getting their first win, over the Bengals, which the Bengals are flushing this talent down the toilet and
Yes.
opportunity down the toilet. But
Absolutely.
before we get to the Bengals, how big is this Jets first win?
Oh,
Looking at it, for them and their season moving forward.
huge because there was a lot of jobs on the line. I, I can't describe it no more than that. Head coach job was on the line. Doggone Trey Justin Fields starting QB position was on the line. Like there
Yeesh.
was a lot at stake. So shout out to the Jets for pulling out that dub because they needed it. I mean, with the Bengals, it is what it is at this point. Like they're literally riding on fumes right now. I know that they thought that Flacco could sit here and carry them forward a little bit, but I mean he can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're having issues with your offensive and your defensive line, like that's issues. Well, not only that, like Bengals secondary is horrendous. Like let's just be clear with
Horrible.
that.
Horrible.
Bengals secondary. I want to say the Bengals and the Cowboys are kind of like tied for the worst secondary
Yeesh.
right now. And
Yeesh.
at least the Cowboys' excuse is like they're injured. Like we talked about it before. You spent so much money on Jamar Chase, Higgins,
T. Higgins, Joe
Joe
Cool.
Cool, and then you spent money on Hutchison, no, Hendrickson. You spent
Yep.
money on him too. You don't have no funds to go out here and get anything to at least assist
Yeah.
defensively with the squad and everything. So that the Bengals are just wounded right now. So I really feel like they just want this to be over with.
So
Like
that
honestly,
makes me want to ask then. So, like you said, you spend all this money on all of these gadgets and toys,
yeah.
and we're not even halfway yet throughout the season. But is it time now for the Bengals to? Is it time to dismantle this project and take some of the pieces? I'm just throwing it out there. Take a T Higgins and a couple of picks and trade and get you some defensive play. Like, is it time just for a reset in Cincinnati because you're wasting that window of of one of the most talented quarterbacks that we've seen in this generation, just be wasted away.
Yeah, but to be fair, that quarterback is also wasted. And I know that it's not his fault, but Joe Burrow been injured a lot. I
Hmm.
think that's one of the problems too, is that you can't even sit here. I think they may have spent too much money on him, and
Okay,
and
fair,
I don't mean
fair.
it like that, but I just think you're not getting your money's worth if he's
Mm,
hurt all the time.
true.
You
But
know
again,
what I'm saying?
but that goes into like trading a piece and maybe investing in an offensive line, getting some extra picks for some defensive players. Because I mean, you do have a plethora of money laying out there between Chase and Higgins and Hendrickson and you
Yeah, but
know,
who's going to want to pick up those contracts though?
shit. Well, and they
Who's
burn.
going to want to pick it up on the back end? You know what I'm saying? I,
Fair
I
point.
I think if anything, it would have to be a team that's like poised for the playoffs. Then in return, you're really not going to get that much back, for it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Fair
a
enough.
second or third rounder,
Fair enough.
maybe, and that's being lightly. So
Mhm.
I really feel like they just need to sit here and eat it up. That's kind of what at the point that they're at right now. That they just need to eat it up. Hopefully, get everybody healthy. Maybe sit here and look at some of these. Maybe try to piece together like a veteran line. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Take a couple of rookies and then just try to piece together something to keep them afloat so Burrow ain't getting hurt all the damn time.
Mm. Yeah, I mean it's a valid point. And look, we're gonna close out, tonight's segment of the show talking about the Bills. You know, first of all, I want to say, even though they routed the Panthers and
Hmm.
are coming into form, this is not, your granddaddy or your mama's grandmama's Panthers of the past. They've looked pretty crisp and really good this year, putting the pieces together. Got some great wins, and seem like they're coming around into the fold. But again, when we talk about this time of the year, as teams are setting themselves up and really trying to position themselves for the second half, we really haven't talked about the Bills much, to
Yeah.
be honest, especially in the AFC because New England has been the golden child, the revival, if you will, in the
Hmm.
AFC East. But
Yeah.
now, are we really? Should we be really starting to refocus back on the Bills as we're going into the second half and looking towards the playoffs? Because they looked absolutely great. And again, I know it's the Panthers, but it hasn't been the old Panthers. These guys have been putting
Yeah.
up a fight. So, what is your take on the Bills where they are right now moving into the second half of the season?
I mean, I will. I mean, I will always keep Buffalo in the conversation. Um, it's just what happens when they get to the playoffs.
That
Like
part. Yeah.
I think they're going to sit here and they'll make a run, but then it's going to be like who you going up against. Now they have to sit here and try to stay in that number one spot
Yeah.
because it's either going to be one seed or it's going to be a 6 or 7 seed,
Yeah.
and that's going to be crazy because they're probably going to have they're going to be over 500. I mean, we already know that. But like you said, with New England playing the caliber of ball that they're playing, we have to keep our eye on them right now too
Yeah.
because they're, they're
Yeah.
they're playing some good ball.
They play
And
hell of
like
ball.
I wouldn't even imagine that from Drake May, but he had some type of awakening, and here we are.
I'll be the first one to say it. We talked about it early on. I want to say I think it was preseason, and I said that guy doesn't move the needle for me. I don't. He doesn't pass my eye test. But I
Hmm.
have to be honest. If I'm going, I'm going to eat crow. If I'm going to say it, I got to eat the crow. He has been exceptional in his growth and the development that they've done with him. He's out there making the plays.
Yeah.
He's actually, he's reading the defenses. He's making the calls, making the plays, both with his arms and his legs. So I'm going to eat crow because right now, I mean, he's got New England in a position that I'll be honest with you, I didn't see uh, playing out like this, in the season. But kudos to them, and it does bring an added factor, like you say, Buffalo really now has to. 'Cause I thought it was going to be a breeze for them, and I think we talked
Yeah.
about that. But now you actually got a potential contender that can, like you said, you fighting for a 1 or 2 seed that can drop you down to a 5 or 6 seed, which it's crazy to think, but it's possible. And then you have Denver, which again is on fire again this year. They're playing great football. You've got that whole really that AFC West with Denver and the Chargers and Kansas City. I mean that's three
Hmm.
teams alone that's fighting
Yeah.
for a spot. And you throw in New England and Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's 5 teams that we're talking about right there off the break. You throw in the Colts right now, who's eating up everything. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
whole different landscape out there. So I like what I saw in Buffalo, but this has to be the continued pace for them. But like you said, it's not necessarily what they do throughout the regular season. It's going to
Yeah.
be, for them. I agree, grabbing that number one seed, having home field advantage, and really see where the cards fall, for
Yeah.
them this season, for them to, potentially break through.
It does feel good to kind of like just listening to you right there. Kind
Hmm.
of feels good to be talking about the AFC like that
It does.
because I think it's been a while. Like you have your Kansas Cities, you have your Baltimores, you have your Buffaloes, and that would be kind of it. Like
Right.
everyone else is like if they're there, they're there.
Right.
But just to listen to the teams that you popped off, and they're playing really good ball too. So,
Yeah.
I'm happy about that because
Yeah.
at least they're not
Right.
looking like the Eastern Conference in the NBA where you just what I'm saying you just throwing darts and hopefully a team will stick. Yeah,
Yeah, but it,
but
it makes for good football, right? When you see a conference, especially 'cause, we're both NFC guys, but to
yeah,
be able to sit across and see a conference that, like you said, you get tired. Look, dynasty or whatever you want to call it, Kansas City has been
hmm,
the standard, for so long, and Baltimore and Buffalo have always kind of been underneath, that
yeah,
cusp. But now we're talking about teams that we haven't talked about in a long time. And I'll be honest with you, leaving out Jacksonville, which again was another team that you and I didn't have really being competitive, but they low key they're competitive and
yeah,
they're on the cusp. But like I said, how when was the last time we really talked about a Denver,
yeah,
or a Los Angeles Chargers, or
yeah,
hell the Colts? The Colts ain't been crap since what's the brother Luck,
yeah.
was
Andrew Luck.
around. Yeah,
Hmm.
so it's good to be able to talk these things, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. Second half in the playoffs, and we're gonna
Hmm.
keep doing this, y'all. Every other week we here Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. Me and my brother Sam, and as we close out tonight's conversation, I want to thank you all again for tuning in, joining us. Uh, if you're catching this, share with a friend. Uh, talk about the show. Catch it, playback on our YouTube channel at Two Mics Up. Follow us on social media. IG, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch at Two Mics Up. And before we go, Sam, I want to give you a moment, man. What you got going on, brother? And what where can people catch you at? What you got going on?
Like I said, I'm in an undisclosed location out here in Austin. But with that being said, when I get back to the East Coast, I'll be picking it back up. Just follow me on Twitch, Sarge Gaming. I'll be picking it up. There's a Veterans Day tournament that's getting ready to come out. So I need to start prepping for that. I'll be streaming that, and just going back to gaming content, rolling clips and everything. But that's really about it.
All right. Well, there y'all have it. Follow Sam, Osar's Gaming. If you are into interactive games and online gaming, he's your man. Check him out. And if you're interested, support the show. Buy us a cup of coffee. You can go on or become a subscriber to the channel. You can go ahead and if you want to zell us, at Two Mics Up, LLC at Gmail. You can hit us up on a Cash App. Buy us a cup of coffee, man. Help us keep the lights on and help us keep doing this uh, each and every other week, along with what we're going to be bringing back for season 9 and in 2026. And we really appreciate it. And I'm your humble host, Damon Cunningham, aka Dang DNYDC. You can follow Two Mics Up across all social media, like I said, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow us online at www.twomicsup.com. We have been blessed to be a full-time award-winning talk show, uh, just coming with the realest talk, the dopest guests, and real conversations. And I hope you all enjoyed. And like we do at the end of each and every show, I'm gonna leave you all with a few things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.